Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Kayla and it's time to crack into a good book. So today's video is going to be a wrap up of the second half of the books that I read in September. So I will leave links down below the video to my the mid-month wrap up, so that's the first half-ish of September. So I'll also link a video that I made for an updated author spotlight for Brian McClellan, since I read both Uncanny, Collateral and its sequel Blood Tally this month. And it feels kind of silly to talk about them again in detail, but so yeah, if you want more detailed thoughts on that, I'll leave that link down below. But generally, so the second half of this month, I read 13 books and DNF'd one book. So I don't know, I guess some general thoughts here on September. I don't know, it was not my best reading month by any stretch of the imagination. I did read a good amount of books. I felt like the quality was kind of meh. And I don't know if I'm just in a reading slump or what, but yeah, so generally I think I was trying to read more quick books or YA books that kind of didn't require much thought, just because it was just a weird month. I was tired. I felt really tired basically all month and just kind of stressed out about grad school. But yeah, so not my best month. So last week I went to Maine just on vacation, so I was reading quite a few just Kindle books, and a lot of these were books that I got for free one way or another. So it's kind of a mixed bag here. Some of the books were not that great, and that was a little unfortunate and didn't help me out with my reading slump. I guess we can go ahead and jump into these books that I'm going to talk about today. So we'll start with the DNF, and again, I'm going to go from lowest to highest rating here. The book that I DNF'd is Moonburner by Claire Luana, I think. So this is I had read a prequel last year maybe and did enjoy it, but this one just really was not working for me. So I think this generally is our main character is a moonburner, and in this world, the women have these moonburner powers, so basically the power of the moon, and then men have sunburner powers, so the power of the sun. So her parents disguised her as a boy, which is generally a trope that I really like. Her village is attacked and she's revealed and sentenced to death. She's basically they find her and bring her to this school to train her up as a moonburner, and I don't even remember how far I got into it, but I was just so bored and really not feeling it. I felt the writing was kind of clunky, and I didn't really like the main character. I didn't think she was all that interesting, and I just didn't connect with the book, and I didn't want to put myself into a more of a reading slump, so I was I'm just gonna end it here. Moonburner was one of the books that I think I am pretty sure I got for free, so I didn't really feel all that bad DNFing it, because I didn't pay for it, so who cares. But yeah, so this just was disappointing. I didn't care for it, but it was kind of surprising because I did like the prequel, so I don't really know what happened. So then I had one-star book, and this is The Two Lila Bennetts by Liz Fenton and Lisa Steinke. So this was I don't know, I was really excited for this book, and then I just hated it. This is kind of generally about this main character, Lila Bennett, and she's kind of a shitty person, and it explores two different timelines of what happens based on choices that she makes. In one of these timelines, she's kidnapped and kind of forced to, I guess, reckon with what her mistakes she's made, and just her shitty choices. And then the other, she avoids being kidnapped, but still has to deal with somebody exposing her secrets. And so she's a criminal defense attorney. And so I just really didn't like her. I thought she was a terrible person. And okay, so I kind of mentioned how it has these two timelines. And so I didn't realize at first that it was literally switching timelines each chapter. So it took me probably until chapter 5 to be oh, wait a minute, this is actually switching these timelines. And so that made things really confusing, because I would read something and I was didn't I just read this? So that was kind of weird. I didn't really follow the story all that well. I didn't like the main character. I wasn't drawn into this story. I mean, I did finish it. I'm not really sure why. I should have DNF'd it, but I didn't. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. I would not recommend reading it. So then I have a couple of 2-star books to talk about. And the first one is Sakura by Joe Hart. So this was another book that I had been looking forward to. And I think the premise is like, there's some sort of dementia, a new type of dementia happening. And this is like kind of set in the future, I think. And it like affects people of all ages, and they don't know why it's happening or how to stop it. So our main character is a doctor who's researching this. Her husband died, I think, of the disease, and her daughter has it. So she is given this opportunity to research it with like NASA, and they go to a space station where the crew has similar symptoms to this dementia. Our main character suffers from addiction, and so she kind of has to deal with like trying to figure out if some of the events that happen are hallucinations or are real. So it's like a sci-fi thriller, and I don't want to like get too much into detail, I guess, in case you want to read it, and like I don't want to spoil anything. I thought these ideas were really interesting, but I didn't feel like they were fully explored or developed all that much. The main character, like I said, does have this like addiction problem, so we read about her struggles and stuff. So I guess like that's kind of a nice exploration of that, but like she was an alright main character. I didn't connect with her all that much, but like at the same time, I do appreciate reading about her struggle and like desire to help her family, because of this disease. Basically, some things happen, and she becomes a suspect of murder, and so part of it is kind of just this like mystery of, did she actually do it? Did she hallucinate these things? What happened? So there are some like straight up sci-fi elements here. So this was just kind of a little bit of a disappointment. It was all right. I would not read it again, but if you're really interested in a sci-fi thriller and think this idea sounds intriguing, maybe check it out. I'm pretty sure I borrowed this from Prime Reading, and I think they still have it. So if you have that available to you, maybe get that, because you can borrow it for free. The next 2-star book that I'll talk about is The Armored Saint by Mike Cole. So this is kind of like sort of a Joan of Arc type story, where we have like a girl fighting against this like oppressive society. So I can't remember if it's like a religious organization or not. Basically, in this world, these like devils come through portals and wizards' eyes, which is like a really interesting concept, and I did like that, but I don't know, just like generally the story didn't grip me in this world. Like if a village is like suspected of harboring a wizard, they kind of just demolish the entire village and just kill everybody. Our main character was pretty young and did seem pretty young. She kind of goes through this discovery process of finding out that she's attracted to women. So that was like kind of a nice touch, but I didn't really connect with her all that much. I don't know, and I don't know if it's just because she felt too young, and I don't know, just didn't really connect with her. It took a while for the story to really get going, and it's not that long of a book. Like I said, I think the concept of this whole wizard portal demon thing was really interesting, and she like kind of does end up fighting against demons, so I liked that, but just overall, it took too long for me to get into it. Didn't love most of the story or the main character, so unfortunately this didn't work for me, but I think a lot of people really liked it. So if you're interested in sort of like a Joan of Arc story, I guess, with some supernatural magical elements, maybe check it out. I think this is one I got for free from Tor's ebook program, so I don't know. I mean, if you can borrow it from a library or get it for free, like, maybe do that, check it out, see if you're interested. I think there are 2 more books out in this series right now. I could be wrong about that. So the last of the 2-star books for this month is Hero Forged by Josh Erickson. This was something that I thought I would like a lot more than I did. This is like an urban fantasy / heist story, and like while there are some supernatural elements in the beginning of the story, I felt like it took a while to really get more of that. So we kind of start off by having this like a sorcerer summon a succubus into the world, and like that does not go well. So generally, I guess in this world, these magical creatures like succubi are called, and gods are called umbra. We do have quite a few supernatural creatures, so that was kind of fun. Our main character is like a thief or con man, and he was kind of shitty, I think. And I think the main reason why I didn't like this book as much as I thought I would was just I did not like the main character all that much and couldn't really connect with him. So basically what happens is like at the beginning, a large chunk of the beginning is like kind of this heist type thing. And then things go wrong. A god ends up possessing him, and he is like trying to fight against this god and, you know, preserve his soul. And generally the book is about trying to stop this succubus from the beginning of the book from reuniting with her lover, who is this god who possessed our main character, and just generally trying to stop them from destroying the world. So, I don't know, this seems like something I would like. There's so many elements that I did like. But I just didn't connect with. I think I didn't connect with the characters. I felt kind of bored with a lot of the story, unfortunately. There was a giant locust creature type thing named Dale who works in a library, so I liked that part. That was really funny. But yeah, overall, it just didn't quite work for me. And I think this is another I picked up for free from somewhere. I couldn't tell you where. I do think other people do really like this book, so if it sounds interesting to maybe give it a shot. I think it is self-published, so you may not be able to find it from the library, but hopefully you can probably pick it up on like Amazon or something for ebook for fairly cheap. So now we get into some of the 3-star books. The first one I'll talk about is Faker by Sarah Smith. So I mentioned this, I think, in one of my videos. I did win this in a giveaway from Goodreads. This was an advanced reader copy, and it does come out in October. So in this book, it's a romance. Our main character works at like a pretty male-dominated company, and it's like an enemies to lovers type romance where her enemy is like this coworker who just like they really don't get along, but you know, things happen and they fall in love. They're forced to work together on this like charity project, and things happen. I really liked the main character, Emmy. I thought she was pretty intelligent, and she like stood up for herself in this male-dominated workplace. I do think not everybody will like her. I think she may come off as like abrasive to some people. I don't know. She grew up in Hawaii, so we get like little tidbits of that throughout, and like you probably know this already, but I do really like Hawaii, so you know that part was fun to read about. This is a very mellow plot, like not much is happening here. There's not really that much side character development, and like the plot is pretty minimal. If you're interested in just like a very mellow romance read, like this would be great, but otherwise, you know, you could probably skip it. The love interest Tate is kind of like an alpha male slash, you know, possessive personality, so this may not be for everybody. I will say he did kind of annoy me at times just because of his possessive tendencies. Like I said, not much really happened, so I was bored in some places, but I mean, ultimately, like, it's a 3 out of 5, so I did enjoy myself. I don't know if I'd necessarily reread it. So maybe, like, if you're interested in just a mellow enemies to lovers type romance, check out the reviews on Goodreads, see what people think. Like, it's kind of, you know, middle of the road for me. Maybe if you can get it from a library, I would say do that. I am not sure I would buy it. So then I listened to The Death of Mrs. Westaway by Ruth Ware. So this, I thought it was going to be more of like a thriller, but it was kind of more of like a domestic family exploration thing. I don't know. So in this, our main character, like, is kind of really poor, and she discovers that she's like written into this will of this old lady that she doesn't know, and like she thinks that like she doesn't know this family, and she thinks there's probably some sort of mistake, but she is kind of desperate for cash and is like, okay, well, you know, I'll pretend to be related to these people so I can get some money. So I don't know if I would have liked this more had I read it in print, because I think my issue with audiobooks is like, if there's something that really annoys me, having to listen to it over a larger period of time like starts to drive me crazy. And whereas like if I were to read it, I could finish, you know, a 300-page book in, you know, a couple hours. Like, so I think I don't know if this is just kind of like a general audiobooks discussion, I guess. I don't know if I just tend to not enjoy audiobooks as much just because of that. But anyway, in regards to this particular book, I thought the main character got really irritating at times. She kind of goes back and forth about like, I pretend to be related to these people, or should I and lie about my status so I can get money, or should I be truthful? So this this like flip-flopping just like really irritated me, and I was like, for the love of God, just like tell them the truth. So yeah, not my favorite. Like I said, it's not so much a thriller as like a family drama. I did guess some of the plot reveals, but not all of them. So I guess in terms of that, you know, it was a pretty successful book. There is like this tarot card aspect, and I did really like that. I think those tarot cards are really fascinating in general. And so like that was like the most interesting part to me. This was a middle of the road thriller family drama for me. I think a lot of people do tend to really like it, and if you've read Ruth Ware's other books, perhaps you would like it as well. I would say pick it up from the library if you are interested in it, just because like I can't strongly recommend it. So the next 3-star book I'll talk about is Forever Fantasy Online by Rachel Aaron and Travis Bach. So I've read some of Rachel Aaron's books before, particularly like the Eli Monpress series. I don't think I've ever heard anybody talk about them, but it's like Eli Monpress is a thief, and there's like this magical world. I really liked them, and she also writes the Heartstrikers series, which is like an urban fantasy series with dragons that I think they're all self-published, and people tend to really like them. I have not read them yet, but I do want to. So this it's co-written with her husband, Travis Bach. I believe it's her husband. Could be wrong about that. So this is a lit RPG novel. This is like a novel version of a video game, basically. So in this, we actually have this like video game, Forever Fantasy Online, I think. Yeah. And it's like a virtual reality game. And, you know, people like to play it a lot, and our main characters love to play it. So the beginning of the book starts out where these players are in the game, and this like sort of glitch thing happens, and they're basically trapped inside the game itself, and become the characters that they have chosen. So the NPCs, you know, non-playable characters, kind of are angry at the players for, you know, being trapped in this cycle of, you know, having to repeat the same lines over and over again. So I thought that was actually really funny. They kind of discover that this online world was actually real, perhaps. So like, I think the concept was really interesting. One of the main characters, Roxy, that's her like in-game character name, her real name is Tina. I found her kind of irritating at times. She's extremely bossy, and there is like some discussion of this throughout the book, of like other players being like, hey, you're not actually the boss of us, like stop treating us like we're children. So like I appreciated that, but at the same time, like I was still annoyed with her. And then we have our other main character, James, who is Tina's brother, and I thought his storyline was more interesting. They're trying to figure out like why this glitch happened, and there's this overall evil character in the game, and he's like trying to destroy the entire world. So we have like these two different plots going on in different places of the world, where, you know, they're trying to deal with these like smaller lead ups to like the overall invasion of like the main city. I thought this was a really fun concept. I didn't like Roxy/Tina all that much. But I do think it was really interesting, like I said, you know, how the NPCs kind of were angry at the players, and I think that's just kind of like an interesting concept of like, you know, how do they actually feel in these video games? And throughout the book, the actual real life people become like the characters that they've chosen, and I think that has some interesting consequences. I think I also picked this up from Prime Reading, and they may still have it. So, you know, if you're interested in it and want to borrow it for free, maybe check it out and see if that's still available. Otherwise, I don't think it's all that much to buy like an ebook. Yeah, it was a fun lit RPG novel. I'm kind of interested in continuing the story, but I'm not sure I actually will. We'll see. So now we're getting into like the 3 to 4 star range. The next book I'll talk about is The Tiger's Daughter by Kay Arsenal Rivera. So our buddy read this with Amber at Books of Amber, and I will leave her channel linked down below. This was slower than either of us kind of really expected, I guess. So this is like a fantasy version of, I think it's Japan and Mongolia. And yeah, like the fantasy aspects were kind of spread out a bit. Like there's these demons that come up very infrequently. There's like some supernatural creatures. It's kind of like a strange choice of narration style. We have like one of the main characters, Shefali, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she has written letters to our other main character, who is the Empress. And so she, like, these letters kind of talk about the past and lead our way up to the present. And then we had like these interludes with the Empress in like present day where, you know, it's kind of like she's in between reading these letters, I guess. So this like narration style reminded me of The Ruin of Kings by Jen Lyons. So, you know, if it didn't work for you there, it's probably not going to work for you here. I will say I do believe the second book continues like a normal narration style. So, you know, maybe if you're not opposed to this narration style, give this a shot. So this actually kind of reminded me of Memoirs of a Geisha, just kind of like recounting the past, I guess, and just kind of the setting in general. This is mostly, I think, about the romance between our two female main characters, and just like how it develops and just generally their lives growing up. I did like that quite a bit. I did like our main characters, particularly Shefali. I think she's pretty interesting, and I'm curious to see how her story develops. I do not think this is a book for everybody, particularly, so I was looking at some of the Goodreads reviews, and some people talk about just like the stereotypical, or just stereotypes and like improper use of cultures. So this is kind of like I said, a fantasy Japan / Mongolia, and there's, I think, China's involved as well. So this could be offensive to some people. I, you know, am not of those cultures, so I like can't really confirm any of that. But if you are worried about that, perhaps check out the Goodreads reviews and just, you know, see for yourself if this is going to be a problem or not. Yeah, so like I said, there's a few fantasy elements like demons and phoenixes. It is very slow, so just to put that out there, I'm going to warn you now. I did end up really enjoying this overall, and I would like to continue the story to see what happens. So now we're getting into some of the 4-star books that I read. So like I said at the beginning of this video, I will link my author spotlight update for Brian McClellan to talk about Uncanny, Collateral, and its sequel, Blood Tally. You can get my more in-depth thoughts there. But generally, like, I gave them both 4 out of 5 stars. They're fun, fast-paced urban fantasy books. It's an interesting world, and I definitely want to read more in this series. And I guess, like I mentioned in that video, there is a Kickstarter going on to self-publish Blood Tally, and it goes on until October 8th. Yeah, these are, if you're looking for just like quick urban fantasy / police procedural type feel, books, like, definitely check them out. I think they're worth reading. And I'll just kind of like, I guess, briefly mention there are some fun supernatural creatures. You know, we've got imps, goblins, vampires, death, witches. There's a pop-up demon book, so that's kind of cool. So the next 4 out of 5 star book that I'll talk about is The Thousand Beginnings and Endings, and this is edited by Ellen O. and Elsie Chapman. So this is an anthology, and it's basically like various retellings of Asian myths and legends. So I'm not super familiar with many of these myths and legends, so that, like, it was kind of cool to read about them. And like, basically the structure is like, you know, you have your story, and then there's like a little page from the author about describing like why they chose that story and just a little bit about the original story itself. I thought this was a very good anthology overall. Obviously, you know, your mileage may vary. Some stories are better than others, but I don't remember like actively hating any of the stories, so that's always a good sign. Yeah, so we've got some like big name authors like Roshni Chokshi, Alyssa Wong, Renee Audier, E.C. Myers. There's a couple of odd stories in here, but like nothing I hated. There were definitely stories in here that I really enjoyed. So, for example, Alyssa Wong wrote a story that takes place in Arizona, which, you know, that's where I'm from. So that was kind of fun to read. But it's kind of like our main character is providing a feast to all these ghosts. So like that was really cool. And like I said, I don't really know these myths and legends, so like it's nice to get some exposure to this. There was a story by E.C. Myers that kind of has this like video game element to it. And basically like the main character's mother died, but like was really into this video game, and our main character, kind of can connect with her mother through this video game. So I thought that was really interesting. Definitely liked that. We've got all sorts of different cultures here. We've got like, there's Filipino stories, Chinese stories, Punjabi, Korean, Vietnamese, just generally like South Asian. Japanese story. So like I think it's a really great collection. If you're interested in these Asian myths and legends, definitely check this out. I highly recommend it. So now we're getting into the 5 out of 5 star books. So the first one I'll talk about is Aurora Blazing by Jessie Mahalik. So I've talked about this like a million times on my channel, it feels like. But this, I did win a Goodreads giveaway, and it comes out October 1st, so you can pick it up. So this is a sequel to Polaris Rising, and these are all sci-fi romances. This focuses on Bianca, who is the sister of the main character from the first book, and her, budding romance with Ian, who is like the head of security for this family. They're trying to rescue the oldest brother of this family from being kidnapped, while avoiding this all-out war between these houses, which are like the main political families of this world. There are definitely some mild content warnings for abuse, particularly like with Bianca, her husband, who is dead at the beginning of this book, which that's good. He treated her very poorly, and we kind of explore, I guess, the ramifications of that. Bianca also tries to help out other women escape from bad marriages, etc. So I really appreciated that. I liked Bianca quite a bit. So she has, we'll just say, special skills that help her kind of run this spy network, and generally gathering information. I think it's kind of more of like a slow burn romance between Bianca and Ian, possibly like an enemies to lovers type thing. So if you're looking for as much romance as the first book, it's a different type of romance, I would say. I am very excited for book 3, which I believe comes out next year, and is the last in, I think it's a trilogy. And that will focus on the youngest sister. So we also kind of get this exploration of these super soldiers, which from book 1, we kind of are introduced to these super soldiers because the main love interest is one of them. So that was fun to continue that. We do interact with the main characters from the first book, so that's a nice touch. Just a fun little tidbit. There's this cosmetics tech in this world where you can just program in what you want, what to do with your hair and your makeup. So I was that would be really convenient to have in real life. That would just be so helpful. But anyway, if you're looking for a good sci-fi romance with politics and scheming and stuff, definitely pick up this series. So the last book I'll talk about today is my final 5 out of 5 stars. This is Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. So this is the book that was pitched as Mulan meets Project Runway. So the first, I didn't quite expect what I got from this, and obviously I loved it. The first part of this book starts out with this Project Runway type competition, and then the second part of the book kind of explores the final project, I guess, and our main character has to basically create 3 dresses that capture the power of the sun, moon, and the stars. So that was really cool. There's magic, gods, sorcerers, demons. I really liked the main character. I thought she was felt very determined and intelligent, and kind, so that was nice. There is a romance in here, and it is not rushed at all. There is no insta-love, so for a YA fantasy, I really appreciated that. I felt it was kind of a genuine romance, and I'm excited to see where it goes. I think it's very nicely done. It's kind of this enemies to lovers type romance. I really liked the ending. I thought it wrapped up well, and I'm very excited for the sequel. So if you're interested in Mulan meets Project Runway, definitely pick this up. I highly recommend it. I think it was very well done. I'm excited to see what this author has to share with us. So there are my thoughts on the books that I read in the second-ish half of September. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books or think that you might pick them up. I hope you're having an excellent day and are reading something awesome. If you liked this video, please feel free to give it a big thumbs up, as that would certainly help me out. But with that, I think I will wrap it up here and see you in the next one.